The Elder Scrolls III Morrowind takes place on Vardenfell, an island province north of the mainland. The island is large, and therefore it is not surprising that the geography is varied. The weather changes from region to region, and so does the flora and fauna. Vardenfell is ripe for adventure, a proper place for an adventurer or explorer to make a fortune, if one plays their cards right. However, it is also a place of danger to the untrained, or to those not properly prepared. If you're going to venture forth into Vardenfell, then you should know exactly where you are going and what dangers lie in wait. Welcome to an adventurer's guide to Vardenfell. In this entry, we are going to be going in depth into Azura's coast. Azura's coast is the name of the area on the east and southeast coasts of Vardenfell. The region includes all of the islands off the east coast in Zafrabal Bay, as well as some of the southeast peninsula, south of the Molag region, all the way north to the islands just east of the Sheogorath region. Though the area is mostly comprised of islands, there are quite a few settlements in the area, and the vast majority of them are of Telvanni persuasion. Other than the Telvanni towers, there are a few scattered cave systems, which make a great home for thieves, bandits, and smugglers. Let's dive in for a more detailed look at Azura's coast. Azura's coast is, as I mentioned, mostly islands. These islands tend to be rocky, and the smaller ones are not ideal for building even single buildings, much less towns or cities. There's not much farming or agriculture in this area, so the folks who live here will have to import their grains, fruits, and veggies from elsewhere. However, there is plenty of fishing to be done here. This doesn't mean that nothing grows in this area, however. Plenty of plant life calls Azura's coast home. Some of the more common finds are mucksponge, creshweed, marshmallow, and saltris, making Azura's coast a good place for an aspiring alchemist to visit if looking for raw ingredients for potions and elixirs. As I mentioned, the islands tend to be rocky and do not make ideal building sites, but a few islands are large enough that skilled and powerful wizards have built their towers here. However, the southeast peninsula and southernmost coast of Vardenfell do have some wider, flatter areas, and here you can see more structures, but we'll cover settlements and the like in a later section. The weather in Azura's coast tends to be cloudy, foggy, or rainy, with only about 1 in 4 days boasting clear blue skies. This makes traversing the island region a bit more complicated than it would be if it were clear, so just keep that in mind if you are traveling here. As this area is mostly islands, it is strongly recommended that visitors travel by boat. However, if you plan on exploring, you'll definitely want potions of water walking, levitation, jump, or swift swim if you can't cast them yourselves. Whether you are looking to avoid or actively looking for the local wildlife, it is important to know what you will be encountering if you choose to wander away from the more inhabited areas. First of all, you will no doubt not be surprised to know that there are slaughterfish in the area, this being a coastal region after all. Slaughterfish are dangerous creatures, and care should be taken to not be caught in the water when a school of these carnivorous fish are about. Their scales are valuable, however, for alchemists, so if you are feeling brave, you can catch and kill these fish, scale them, and sell their scales. Another aquatic, yet much less dangerous animal you will encounter is the mud crab. The Vardenfell variant of the mud crab is typically not aggressive unless pestered, and it will defend itself with its giant mandibles. Do be aware of disease-carrying mud crabs, however, as you can catch swamp fever from them, a disease that will drain your strength and endurance. Mud crabs are valued for their sweet, juicy meat that, aside from being a valuable food source, is useful for alchemists as well. The most dangerous but least common waterbound threat is the drake. Though some consider the drake as sentient beast folk and not wild creatures, it doesn't really matter because they will attack you either way. Drake are dangerous, having multiple appendages, most of which have little pincers with which they will deal heavy damage. The clever adventurer, however, will know that the wax found within their shells is of value to alchemists, and the drake shelf itself can be turned into armor. The next most common creature we will find in this region is, of course, the ubiquitous cliff racer. It doesn't matter if there are cliffs or not, cliff racers will always make a nuisance of themselves. Cliff racers are, of course, a dangerous and aggressive species, fond of ambushing travelers who are not paying attention to their surroundings. Because of their great and keen eyesight, it is not unusual to be completely surrounded and swarmed by these flying pests. Anyone traveling anywhere should always keep at least one eye to the sky in order to be on the lookout for these creatures. Beware of disease cliff racers, as some carry helljoint, a disease that will cause your knees and ankles to stiffen and hurt, reducing your speed and agility. But they can also carry the much worse ash canker, which is a blight disease. This illness causes you to lose personality, as the ulcers on your face and body will make people less likely to want to talk to you. You may also find rats and netch in this area, though they are more rare. As previously stated, Azura's coast is marked mostly by small islands, but a few are big enough to have wizards' towers on them. The largest of these islands is home to Sadrith Mora, the largest settlement in Azura's coast, and, of course, council seat of House Telvanni. This island is located a bit off the coast in Zaphrbel Bay, and in addition to being the location of Sadrith Mora, it is also the location of Wolverine Hall, the lone location of Imperial influence in the entire region. Staying in Zaphrbel Bay, west of Sadrith Mora is Tel Arun, which is noteworthy for being the Telvanni Tower of House Telvanni Archmagister Gothrin. Moving far to the north is the town of Tel Mora, home of Mistress Dratha. Finally, far to the south is the southernmost city in the Azura's coast, Tel Branora, where Mistress Tharana lives. There are a handful of places an explorer or adventurer will want to visit when traveling to Azura's coast, and a few places you'll want to avoid if you can. An intrepid adventurer will want to visit Tel Fur, home of the wizard Divaeth Fur, and his corpusarium, which is open to the public if you are brave or foolish enough to enter it. One of the true wonders in Vardenfell is the Shrine of Azura, with its enormous and majestic statue of the Daedric Prince herself. This wondrous location is found in the south of the region and is not easily accessible. An adventurer wanting to explore this location will need to be well prepared. There's only one Dwemer ruin in Azura's coast, Encherdams, which is located just northwest of the Shrine of Azura. Aside from the Shrine of Azura, there are 9 other Daedric ruins in the Azura sCoast region. Some of the major ones are Ald Daedroth. This large Daedric shrine is on the largest island on the north end of the Azura sCoast region. This is a dangerous place and should likely be avoided unless you're traveling there for a particular purpose. Anud Nabia is a large Daedric shrine on the same island as Sadrith Mora, and is actually visible from the city itself. It is said that the legendary hammer Skull Crusher was crafted by the smith Hilbungard Rolamus, and was forged in the forges of Anud Nabia. However, the ruins are sealed forever, and it is likely that if the hammer really even exists, it's lost to time. Next is Balfell. Balfell is a historic site, which was a thriving city in the Second Era. The name translates to City of Stone. The inner shrine is dedicated to the Daedric prince, Sheogorath, so any explorer or adventurer should take care if traveling here. Yan Saramis is a shrine to the Daedric prince, Molag Bal. It is said that these ruins are actively visited by Daedra worshippers, and some even say that Molag Bal himself has spoken to his worshippers here before. It is strongly recommended that the average explorer stay away from this place. Finally, there are many shipwrecks which dot the archipelago in Zaphirbil Bay. Whether they were a reckless and foolhardy captain attempting a dangerous and unrecommended maneuver which led to his or her ship being wrecked, or whether they are the ships of smugglers, brigands, or pirates battered into the rocks by storms, we do not know. However, an intrepid adventurer could likely make a fortune pillaging the carcasses of these ships. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Azura sCoast. A wondrous place, to be sure, full of beautiful scenery, breathtaking vistas, wonderful seafood, and home to the Telvanni Mage Towers, where those interested in the arcane or alchemical will find all their heart's desire. But also a place of danger for those who come ill-prepared. I hope this guide will better prepare you, dear visitor, and that your trip to Azura sCoast is enjoyable. Until next time, may your journeys be safe and profitable.